High in the Argentine Andes sits a route so hostile that off-roaders simply call it the Paso del Colifa, the Pass of the Crazy. In 2003, a group of explorers organized an expedition to cross it. They utilized a pincer movement, a motorized team attacking from the west, and a second unit starting from the east. Their objective was to meet at a single, isolated coordinate deep within the range. The Western force relied on a convoy of outfitted 4x4 vehicles. The Eastern force consisted of a single man, Federico, who was tasked with navigating the ascent on the back of a mule. The Puna region's geography serves as the final arbiter of the journey, forcing both teams to navigate intersecting ravines and thin air before they can even hope to see one another. The Western team entered a landscape that dwarfs human presence. The Puna is a high-altitude desert, stretching out in empty valleys of dirt and salt. The environment immediately challenged their sense of control. A lead vehicle drove onto what appeared to be solid ground, only to find itself instantly immobilized in an unmarked salt flat. The truck sank to its axles in a dense mixture of sand and mud. It took 2 hours of winching and digging to extract it, stalling the expedition before they had reached the base of the mountains. The Puna punishes the assumption that horsepower can overcome the terrain. Out here, forward progress is only possible for those who can accurately read the surface of the ground. As the team climbed higher, they encountered the Campo de Piedra Pómez, the first major obstacle to their navigation. They followed a local guide who promised a shortcut, but his cross-country route took over an hour to clear. When they finished the detour, they realized an established easy path had been sitting less than 50 meters away the entire time. The field is a maze of towering white pumice blocks with distinct orange caps. The sheer scale of the formations obscures the horizon, making it impossible to maintain a visual heading. The Campo proves that standard logic is insufficient. Success depends on the team's ability to solve the physical puzzle of the pumice field in real time, rather than relying on maps or guides. To validate their progress through the Galán caldera, the team targeted a specific geographic objective, the exact intersection of the 26th parallel south and the 67th meridian west. They used their GPS to record the moment they reached the mark. The data confirmed they were standing at an altitude of 4,820 meters. Reaching the next leg required navigating the Arenal Chivo, a series of steep sand traps along the caldera's edge that forced the drivers to use ground anchors to prevent their vehicles from sliding down the slope. Past the sands, they discovered a circular lagoon filled with flamingos, hidden within the mountain bowl. They named it La Perla del Galán. The discovery provided a much-needed psychological boost to the drivers, who were beginning to show the strain of the high-altitude labor. While reaching these checkpoints confirmed the feasibility of the western route, it also pushed the team deeper into the wilderness, moving them further from any hope of external assistance. By nightfall, the western team reached Colifalla, a tiny settlement that served as their final landmark before the planned convergence. The settlement consists of a few brick structures, positioned at the base of the range. The scale of the surrounding peaks emphasizes how isolated human life is at this altitude. Mentor Ramos, the owner of the outpost, provided the team with shelter and food, allowing them to recover from the day's drive. Colifalla marks the absolute limit of the inhabited world. Beyond this point, the team would be entirely reliant on their own resources. On the eastern front, Federico and his guides were successfully navigating the Siena Grande River, closing the geographic gap between the two teams. However, as the meeting point neared, the western team hit a physiological wall. Gregorio, their lead rescuer, began suffering from severe altitude sickness. The team had to stop and administer oxygen tanks to keep him conscious. Every minute spent at this altitude increased the risk of his condition worsening. The mission's bottleneck had shifted. The trucks were capable of the climb, but survival of the crew now depended entirely on their response to the lack of oxygen. One final obstacle stood between the two teams, a steep, sandy descent known as the Bajada Suicida. The descent is a strategic trap. The angle is so sharp and the sand so loose that once the vehicles enter the ravine, it is physically impossible to reverse the route and drive back out. In order to reach Federico's position at the bottom, the western team committed to the drop, sliding their heavy vehicles down the slope. As they reached the floor, the terrain tightened. The solid rock walls closed in to form a narrow bottleneck, physically blocking the trucks from advancing further. The two-front strategy successfully brought the teams together, only to trap them in a geological dead end with no clear exit.